Hello. Welcome
Hello.
to This Shit Happens.
Yay!
Yay. I'm Danielle.
I'm Lauren.
And that's Jeffrey. Oh my
Jeffrey.
gosh. He's our
He's
special guest today. I hope you could all
Hello.
hear Paul yelling in the background.
I did.
Hey, Paul.
You'll have to watch this later so that he can say hi back. So this week we are doing personal boundaries. Shit happened. But as always, we're going to start with our fun facts for May 2nd. Except for me, who just does fun facts on whatever the fuck day I want.
Yep.
So my first fun fact is more than 52% of the world's population is under 30.
Huh.
Yeah. It's good stuff. And that was numbers as of 2012. Wonder what it is now. I'm not going to look.
Can you hear that?
Yes. I like it.
Puppy woke
Sound
up from a
effects.
nap and is ready to play.
Love it. There are more than 24 time zones around the world.
There's more?
More than 24.
Why?
I don't know.
It's a big planet.
Yeah, but I mean, there's 24 hours in the day, so why would you have...
That's fair.
Charlie? And then
Do oceans have their own time zones? Like,
probably, like in
are
the
there
middle of the
stretches
ocean.
of ocean with just its own time zone?
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think there's not much in the ocean where there's not land, at least somewhere
Yeah.
in that vertices. And then my last fun fact will be that California is the home to the artichoke capital of the world.
Ugh.
You know what?
You don't like artichokes?
I don't.
Oh.
Now
I
have
also
to
don't
find...
like avocado.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, you're
no.
weird.
I'm the
Well,
worst Californian
you're
ever.
saving a lot of water.
I am.
I'm going to read this one to you instead then, since you hate me for that one. The most typical human fits this description. You ready?
Yeah. I thought, I was waiting.
Most typical person is right-handed. They make
Okay.
less than $12,000 per year. They have a
Okay.
mobile phone, and they don't have a bank account.
Huh.
Does that make you
Wow.
feel better about your lives?
It
Yeah,
does, actually.
2 out of 4.
uh,
Yeah. Okay.
Got
So
my
So maybe
phone in my
we're-
right hand.
we're atypical. Well, mostly.
Kind of.
Jeffrey's like, typical. All
Okay,
right.
so when I started this, I accidentally had it on May 1st, which
That's
is the
May
day
Day.
we're recording. But there was some really cool stuff, so I want to share that anyway. And
I'll allow it.
then the other stuff. Because on May 1st in 1753 was the publication of Species Planetarium by Carolus Linnaeus, and that's the official start date of plant taxonomy that was adopted by the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature.
Oh,
That's fucking old. And
yeah.
I thought it was interesting. Also on May 1st in 1776 was the founding of the Illuminati.
Oh, all
So I
right.
had to-
1776?
1776?
So that's why
Yes.
that's why the pyramid's on the dollar, isn't it?
It is.
So I had to keep that. I had to share it because it was cool.
Yeah.
Also on May 1st in 1840 was the world's first adhesive postage stamp in
Wow.
Great Britain.
Huh.
There were a lot
Jolly
of
good.
There were a lot of firsts on May 1st, because that 1841 was also the first immigrant wagon train leaving Independence, Missouri for California. Okay, now let's actually do May 2nd.
all
Just a
the same.
couple. Just a couple. 1885, Good Housekeeping was first published.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did not realize that was that old. I imagined
No.
it coming out in like the 50s.
Right.
1885.
Well,
2nd.
shit.
Right? 1908, May 2nd, Take Me Out to the Ball Game was registered for copyright.
Wait,
1908?
1908.
that means that it's no longer copyright, or because isn't it
don't
100
know.
years?
Well, no, you can renew it.
Yeah,
You
I
can
don't
get a
know.
copyright.
Well, they didn't renew happy birthday.
Well, that's good because I don't want to pay money every time I go to a birthday party. More than I pay in gifts and whatever.
You just gonna get sued
Right.
every time you leave the house. Good thing we can't leave.
Since I had so many from May 1st, I only did a couple from May 2nd. 1949, Arthur Miller won the Pulitzer Prize for Death of a Salesman.
Oh,
And 1970, first woman jockey at the Kentucky Derby, Diane
Oh.
Crum. Yeah. And then these are just fun. 1997, May 2nd, Austin Powers International Man of Mystery was released.
Stop it. Don't do that.
No, you're going to hate this one too.
No.
May 2nd, 2008, Iron Man, first Marvel movie. Yep, you're
2008?
welcome. 2008.
Did you see how many have been released since?
No,
Yeah, we don't talk about that either.
it's just this day.
There's so many.
All of them. Have been
All of them
released
have been
since then.
released. Yes, that's true.
All of the ones that have been released are released.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know it's a lot because we're working our way through the Marvel catalog with the Munchkin, and we just finished Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I love those soundtracks. They're
It's
excellent.
taking a long time. Oh, it is the best soundtrack. But yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so that should happen. So on May 2nd.
That should happen.
And May 1st.
And May 1st also shit happened.
Yep.
So I'm going to start off with going over personal boundaries and what types of personal boundaries there are. So there
Okay.
are material, physical, mental, emotional, sexual, and spiritual. And those are all your own personal boundaries. Ready, go. Discuss. No, I'm just
Well, why is sexual different from a physical boundary?
because physical boundaries pertain to your personal space, privacy, and body. So do you give a handshake or a hug? To whom and when? How do you feel about loud music, nudity, locked doors? Sexual boundaries protect your comfort level with sexual touch and activity. What, where, when, and with whom?
Very important.
You like that research? That's what I did.
Yeah.
I did that.
That
It,
is more
it almost
research than
sounds
I
like
did.
you wrote all of that information yourself. It was so thorough.
I know. I'm so good at what I do. So basically, we picked this topic. By we, I mean I told Lauren we're doing this one this week, however many days ago.
Yeah, but I threw it up in the
You
list
did.
of topics.
You wrote it
so
down.
It is a we picked.
Yes,
In
but
its
this was
own way.
actually a topic that we had back when we were first deciding what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems very pertinent right now because for the people that aren't trapped at home alone, the personal boundaries are very physical and mental. And for the people who are alone, they get to be different.
Yeah.
So we kind of wanted to go through how those personal boundaries have changed with the stay-at-home order, and if something has gotten better or worse, if we are focusing more on being able to express what our boundaries are, if we're figuring out what those boundaries are better.
Yeah. So probably a fair time to realize what your own boundaries are right now.
Yeah.
Because that's all you have time to do is sit and think that I don't like this, or, oh, this is what I need.
Right. It's like forcing us to be in a position where now we have to understand what we need for ourselves. And whether that be, I need to create personal boundaries of my own thoughts against this situation, or I need to create personal boundaries against this person being in my space 24/7, or this cat grabbing my hand every 5 seconds. Whatever it is, like, hey, you know, he's biting me. Stop it. Yeah. So we're here to discuss. Jeffrey,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this? Welcome, guest.
Well, thank you for having me, by the way. And I also wanted to draw back and say that the only reason I know the pyramid is on the dollar bill is because of the Nicolas Cage movie,
National Treasure.
National Treasure. So I really don't know if that's even true.
It is. It's also
it's-
in the books that
Like the Da
Da Vinci
Vinci
Code. Mhm.
Mhm.
which those are not Nicolas Cage movies. Those are Tom Hanks movies.
That is
I've seen none of those.
true. They're
So look, now you know 2 facts from
what's
2
the
different.
second one's Angels and Demons or something
Yep.
like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are good movies. I haven't seen them in a long time.
yeah.
Anyways, nice little deliberation.
Just trying to distract from answering. Look at this.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at it, aren't I?
You are. But I know what you're doing, so I'll just make you come back around.
Right. Well, I mean, aside from dealing with all of the loneliness and boredom and trying to find things to do, yeah, I think that there is a healthy amount of time to spend with yourself and to ruminate and reminisce, you know, and kind of listen to your body. Something that I don't think that a lot of people are able to do when you're constantly running from, you know, whether it's work or school or, you know, meeting up with people for whatever activity you're doing, you know, taking care of people and running errands. You know, I think today there's every bit of free time we try to fill, even if it's just sitting by yourself in a room, you're looking at your phone, you're on your computer. You know, I don't think people really spend time actually meditating, clearing their thoughts just to kind of feel what's going on with them in that moment. And I say all this because, you know, it's been a time that I've been doing that, where I've been kind of trying to find ways to mitigate my anxiety or my depression and not wanting to feel lonely. But then I realized maybe that's kind of important to slow down and to feel that so I can understand myself more. And then from there, you know, I kind of am learning more about my own boundaries and what I want to cultivate for myself and what I want people to bring to me, or what I want to allow people to bring to me in my life. Because I try to always kind of sacrifice my own comfort to make other people feel happy.
None of us do that.
So is
Yeah,
that
and
a family
you know,
trait?
I think
No.
that's more common than not. I think a lot of people would rather not experience conflict, so they would opt to try to please someone else rather than listen to what they want. You know, at least for me personally, I know what I want and what I feel, and I know you know, I can get that some other time. If I just listen to the other person and give them what they want, then I feel less anxious about that moment.
Yeah.
But that's kind of that thing. That's that hiding from your feelings, and kind of trying to find a way to solve the feelings rather than listen to them and let them exist. You know, and so having personal boundaries comes from personal needs, and yeah, this is a good time to slow down and learn about yourself and your personal needs.
Yeah. I mean, the
I like
world
that.
kind of forced it on us, and
Right.
Yeah.
we don't really have a choice. But at the same time, I mean, just going on social media and seeing the crazy amount of people that are like trying so hard to connect with something. And Paul and I were talking the other day about how a lot of people are doing this, and it feels like they're trying to find their identity through other people, because that's the only way they know who they are. So if they're not
Right.
interacting with someone else, they have lost their own sense of self. And if you are with yourself and you feel like you don't have that own personality, you don't have a definition of who you are, then how can you find that without somebody else telling you who you are? And I think there's come a lot of important moments within this where when you do have to sit alone with your own thoughts and you can't go run out to a bar or whatever it is that you do. Like for me, I'm still constantly busy. We don't drink around here, and I've learned that at the beginning of this, with all of the people that reached out, it was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Do you need anything? Is there anything I do? And I was like, whoa, like, let me breathe for a moment. And, they were reaching out because it was what they needed.
Yeah.
It was a little hard for me to absorb so many voices coming at me and, oh my gosh, help me, Danielle. Like, I know that you're always here. You're always going to help. And I was like, oh, I do always do that for people. And it was a time when I needed to be able to help myself because the world is in such chaos that I was like, I can't. Like, everybody all at once is too much.
Yeah, I was probably one of those people.
Yes,
So
But that's
what type of boundary is that?
that was probably a mix of the mental and emotional boundaries.
Right. And so
Which,
that's something that everybody's kind of learning how to deal with right now.
yeah,
That maybe people didn't even know that they needed to have.
right. I mean, you know, it was easier when the world felt like certain times of day were for socializing. And then once that was done, I could stop and be like, okay, I'm done with my day now. And they'd be like, oh, okay. But when this all happened, everybody's like, well, I'm not working, so I'm going to stay up till 2 a.m. I'm like, no, I still have to go to bed early. And so the first couple of weeks was just like, everybody wanted to do FaceTime calls, but you know, Zoom, whatever. And it was
Text me all day.
Right. Text me all day. Tell me your stories. So, you know, with physical boundaries, it's easy for me. Like I can set those. I can just stand over here. I can change my body language to not accept you coming in my bubble. You can put on resting bitch face. You can slump your shoulders forward. Like it's easy to not have to communicate that with words, and people kind of innately understand that.
That's what headphones are for.
Right.
In public.
Yeah.
I am not open to interaction.
Yeah. Although people still try to talk to you, but it's like,
no one cares.
I mean, if you just like point at your ear now, they're like, oh, yeah. But it's like now the masks that we should all be wearing when we leave, that's creating this personal boundary that I love. Like random people aren't trying to come talk to me. And it's like, oh no, is she infected? I have to stay over here. And I'm like, oh no, bye. And like,
I haven't had that happen. I've only gone out like twice though.
Oh, I'm the one that goes shopping every week. So
I tried not to.
Yeah, that's wise for you.
Yeah.
You're a little immunocompromised. So.
A little bit.
Don't do that shit.
Yeah. And it's also important for people working right now. I mean, I think today is, it's May Day, and people are striking for, or boycotting at the very least, for a certain amount of companies, or certain select companies right now that have been making record profits during this time when there's people who don't even have a job or make any money at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's definitely important to respect the physical boundaries for other people too, and you know, kind of going outside of your own body and remembering that other people can also get sick from your dumb ass who doesn't wash their hands.
Yeah. And that's that's what scares me the most, is feeling that guilt because I gave it to, like, I could be a carrier and possibly give it to somebody else. Like that scares me more than me getting it. And that's just because of who I am and my own, like, I would literally drown in my own guilt if I knew that I had given someone COVID. It's like, how many other people could they give that to? Who is that going to kill? And like spiral, which is why I need to, that's why I have to set some of those boundaries.
Yeah. And it's, you know, we sit and look at all these models all day. Like there was somebody in the first few weeks of quarantine, somebody brought up like the match model. It's like, even if, you know, if you have a row of matches and you light one, eventually they're all going to catch on fire.
Yep.
Right.
Until you remove one.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the person that has all of a sudden.
Spread them out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't put them next to each other.
Right. That's so weird. Yeah. I mean, we've gotten to the point in Nevada County where like there are only 2 active cases. And I mean, I'm not sure how many people haven't gotten tested with symptoms, but I mean, we are very spread out here. So it doesn't surprise me if that's just what it is here until people start traveling and then go and bring it here and bring it back, or, you know, and it's like people are getting restless and they're starting to take away other people's personal boundaries because they don't believe it for themselves. And it's frustrating as shit. And, you know, even just the emotional boundaries of, you know, people reaching out on Facebook and needing something, or asking for help, or just stating their own worries, and somebody else coming in with, oh, well, nothing's changed for me. Why are you acting like this? We should be protesting. We need to get out there. We need to reopen the country. And it's like, go the fuck away.
Well, that's about as logical as me saying, you know, I've never actually seen a wombat in person, so they clearly don't exist.
Right. Well, it doesn't affect me, so it doesn't exist. Yeah, that's like freaking
That's
flat
bullshit.
earthers who, like, it's literally gotten that bad. Like, there's proof that the earth is round. We can clearly see that. And they're like, no, I can look straight out. There's a straight. It's all flat. Like, are you flat? Like, there's dimensions. I don't understand.
No, dimensions are wrong.
Oh, okay.
It's a lie from NASA.
No. You have fun with that one, Jeffrey?
I like that.
Flat earthers.
Yeah, you can invite me back for the Flat Earther episode.
We
We'll
will.
do a conspiracy episode.
I'll be the devil's advocate, and I'll really come swinging for those
Oh,
Flat
good.
Earthers.
I think Paul would need to be on the conspiracy one too. Aliens.
Hey, do you think that the government was trying to distract by declassifying those Pentagon videos of military aircraft spotting
The
whatever
TIE
UFOs?
fighters. Those are TIE fighters.
The
Mark
TIE
Hamill said
fighters.
so on his Twitter. He told me
Wow.
it was a TIE
He
fighter.
He would know.
He would. He
Yeah,
would
it
say.
was just George Lucas taking his TIE fighter for a spin.
Uh,
I think it's funny. One of you mentioned the headphones in public as a kind of signifying, don't talk to me or don't look at me. You know, I'm busy or I'm in my space. A very forward, it's a very upfront way of kind of signifying that you are in your own world. Although some people might just honestly be grooving to music with no prerogative outside of that. But when I'm sure this happens in many cities, metropolitan areas, but when I was in London and you'd go on the underground, they call it the tube,
tubes.
everybody was headphones in and reading a newspaper. So two boundaries.
Yeah.
And nobody spoke a word. I remember I laughed one time and everybody looked at me. They're like, and that was such a shallow physical boundary. Like even my voice crossed into their world, because it's, again, like these people are rushing around. There's so much happening. They're so tired and worn down by constantly being around people that when you're on the tube, even though you're crammed, shoulder to shoulder, bumper to bumper with people on the underground, you still want the most amount of space you can create. And so everybody's got the headphones and the newspaper and nobody's making eye contact. And if somebody laughs, then you get glared at. And it's just it was such an interesting thing. I don't know if the Brits are just so polite and courteous to others and just,
I think that's called respectful.
Mm.
Well, I mean, to be sharing a quiet conversation and still be causing what I felt was a ruckus was very interesting. And to me, it was just, I grew up in a small town and moved to Eugene from a small town. And, so everybody's very friendly and open and you say hi and, you talk to people every time you see them because you don't run into people as much as you do in the city. So it's just really interesting to see that behavior just so normalized when nobody wanted to talk. It was just dead silent. Everybody's winding down or mentally preparing themselves to get shit on by their boss that day or something. It was like, it was very, very, very different kind of zeitgeist over there in England.
Apparently I need to move because that sounds awesome.
Right.
Well, I mean, once you get out of the tube, then it's all chaos.
Right. It's complete chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But
a
when
lot of tourists too.
Yeah. It was the biggest city in the entire world. So,
Because I used to wear headphones on the bus, like in college.
Gosh, yeah.
I wouldn't even listen to anything. I just had headphones in because I didn't want anyone to talk to me.
I do that frequently.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in SAC, going on any of their public transit, people just want to talk to you or blast their music. And I'm like, don't. Just put headphones on my head. They're not even in my ears. And people are like,
right.
She says no.
Right.
And so could that be a physical boundary that's maybe unhealthy? We're constantly, like, we're losing the ability to speak to each other kind of in a way, kind of like the bystander effect. It's like you can see something happening and you're not going to do anything because you're already so busy with you're, swiping on Tinder, or, liking your mom's photos on Facebook, or whatever you're doing.
Complaining about her stuff.
Sure.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, that it brings up a good point, but at the same time, because of the constant barrage of people invading our personal boundaries in social media, on TV, there's all of these new portals of getting into our lives. We have to shut them out somehow. And yeah, it's taken away a little bit from our face-to-face interactions in human form, but people also are very stupid in social interactions. Like, they don't understand how to socially interact. And there is lots of inappropriate, I think that I have the right to now come into your bubble, even though you have turned your body away from me, just because I want to talk to you. And I think it's this, we've lost the ability to respect people saying no.
Yeah, that's, I think that was what made me want to talk about this, because something happened and I was pissed off because it was something that I was doing that was good for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody was trying to tell me like it was stupid and I shouldn't do that. I can't remember what it was.
It's because it was in like November.
I know, it was a while ago. But I got pissed and I was like, we need to talk about personal boundaries and how they're for a fucking good reason.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with setting your own boundary and sticking to it.
Right. And, if we're not hurting other people with our boundaries, and, even that's a fine line, because there are certain boundaries where, like, I am an introvert. I need to be able to recharge by being alone.
Yeah.
Paul is extroverted.
That exhale, that was very cathartic. You heard the word recharge and you were just like,
yep. Recharge.
I mean it.
Yeah, but I have Paul, who's an extrovert, and he's been working remotely for however many years. So I would come home from being in an office where I'm just like, holy shit, humans all day long. And then I come home and he's like, I'm like, okay, Paul, so I made this boundary where when I come home, you are quiet for 30 minutes. Just, I need to exist in my home in quiet where I feel safe and comfortable for 30 minutes. And he was like, okay.
I'm imagining Paul is like an eager black lab sitting outside the glass door, just like
waiting.
Can I come in? Can I come
in? Just like vibrating.
Is it time?
He actually does this movement, so I hope he watches the actual video instead of listening this week. But yeah. And,
is this gonna be on video?
It might be. I might just send it. Last time we did I just did a unshared link and I sent it to Nella because she likes to watch it. So it'll probably just be Nella watching.
I know.
And now everybody knows that who's listening.
Oh yeah. If you guys have any questions about what we're wearing, you just got to ask Nella.
Right. Well, I told her that she has to do reaction videos and then post it to our page. So that she was like trying to respond to us last time.
I would watch that.
Right? So would I.
Yeah.
It would be great. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the hard things for me is telling people what I need, because I don't see my needs as being very important. Calm down over there. So even just me being like, yo, I need 30 minutes when I would get home from the office was like a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And it's,
I felt that way. Even just 10 minutes. Like I've had to ask that before, just like, because people get mad. They'd be like, why are you so grumpy right as you get home? And I'm like, well, I just had a long day, and right as you jump in my face and eating more for me, it's kind of stressful. And it makes it worse when you don't ask for it, is the problem. It's kind of like, for me, when I have needs, I might not say it, but I always kind of act the way that I want to, whether or not, and then it puts people off, and just so learning how to express your boundaries ends up being beneficial to everybody, because then they see you communicating to them respectfully. You're giving them the time of day, let them know how you're feeling, and showing them, if you give me this space, I can come back and be a more full person when we're together, mutually.
I can be present for you.
I think that's hard for people to learn how to do, though.
Yeah.
Is to just say, this is what I need. We know that for you. I mean, because I think I wasn't really totally vocalizing it for a while.
No way.
And then I ended up imploding. I like blew up over here because I'm very much introvert. I very much need to be alone. And I've been in lockdown with a 6-year-old. So we now have a schedule. Like today, she's not here. Today, she's at her grandpa's house. Today's my day that I get to like recharge because it's been quiet all day because my husband's at work and she's at grandpa's. So that's why Fridays are my favorite because it's it's recharge day.
And then
Thanks,
I come in
Pops.
here like, come be on a fucking podcast. Let's
That's okay.
talk shit.
I took a nap. It was good.
You did. I did
I
not.
took a day nap. Got up, did my work, and then I took a nap. It was
A
amazing.
day nap versus a night nap, which is just sleeping.
Sleeping.
I mean, that's basically how she does sleep. So
Yeah.
You're like an Iron Man sleeper. You sleep for 30 minutes and wake up and go back to it every time.
I don't know how people do that.
Yeah, have you ever heard of that sleep schedule?
Yeah.
before? Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
yeah.
I think it's you sleep for 30 minutes and you're awake for 4 hours is the standard.
Yeah.
And you just
Yeah.
rinse and repeat that. And it works for some people. It certainly does.
Right. I mean, a 30-minute nap can do wonders.
Yeah, but I mean, you need consistent REM sleep to,
Yeah.
because I have a biology degree. Wow, look at that. And
you fancy.
when
You're
you
so
when you
fancy.
pay attention in class, you learn about
What?
things.
Shit.
I know.
That's what I did wrong.
And during a neurobiology class, we read a paper about how the longer you sleep, the more your body kind of turns over cells and kind of like cerebral fluid in your spine and stuff like that. Because all that fluid gets built up with junk, kind of ubiquitous proteins and neurotransmitters that need to get reset. For anyone who doesn't understand what that means, we'll just put it simply like you got a bunch of puzzle pieces and they kind of get ground up into little random chunks, and your body has to, reset them, kind of reuse them. So sleep is essential for rekindling all of those supplies you have in your body and getting them ready for the next day.
Yeah. And it's not even just your brain. Like, it goes the same thing for your muscles because, especially when you're working out, your body builds muscle by creating micro tears. And they cannot heal and repair themselves unless you are finding those moments of sleep.
Yeah, which I don't think you can do in that 30-minute
No.
Iron Man schedule. I have no idea. I think that's just people who are obsessed with the internet. Can't miss a moment.
Right. And there is one sleep study that I read that was you sleep for 4-hour increments instead. So you sleep for 4 hours, you wake up in the middle of the night, you do some tasks that will, so what this one was focused on was like learning something new. So you sleep for 4 hours, wake up in the middle of the night, find something that you're learning, look at it for like an hour, and then you go back to sleep and sleep for another 4 hours. And it's supposed to help you remember. I don't know if I believe that, but I mean,
I have to turn the heater off. It's hot.
There goes Lauren. Bye, host. Now we see your butt. Good thing this is only going to Nella.
Well, now everyone knows you outed Lauren.
Yeah.
What? I'm in pajamas?
Well,
No, your
mirror.
butt was in the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
She is wearing pants, everyone.
Yes, there
I'm
are
wearing pajama
pants
pants.
covering her butt. I've got leggings on. What do they look like? I have flowers.
The
is
dog's
that, wait,
space
so is
heater's
that,
on.
was
It's
that
too
a
hot in here.
boundary? Did you cross a boundary?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Just-
Danielle, no.
You ruined it.
We don't
I'm gonna
have
go
that
cry now.
boundary. That's not about. As
We're supposed to pretend there's no
previous dancer.
background. It's just us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
well,
that's
we
my
could do
boundary.
that. Hold on.
I mean, we could put up backgrounds.
Yeah, you want our backgrounds, Jeffrey? We'll
The brick wall, that is very
No.
symbolic.
This is
I don't know.
Now my background is Lauren's face and my face from the last recording.
I can't say I'm familiar enough with Zoom.
So we're gonna take a brief intermission from talking about personal boundaries. So if you go down to bottom where it says stop video, there's an arrow next to it. And then you have an option to choose a virtual background. Where'd you go? You're not supposed to actually stop your video.
Oh.
Click the arrow next to it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What in the fuck, Lauren?
Wow.
This was requested.
There's a
I don't know what it is, but it was requested.
it's like a creepy clown smashing
Oh,
its face into
That's
the glass.
That's bad. That's not good.
I'm gonna go back to my forest.
Yeah.
Add image.
I forgot we did
Oh.
actual backgrounds last time. And then we
Fair.
made our arms disappear.
Now I have a brick wall.
Oh no! Jeffrey is in Jeffrey. Ew! So
Uh-oh.
this is our guest inside of himself. This is his new personal boundary of existing within himself.
Is this? We're not taking a break here. Is this?
Oh, this
is
is
everyone? Is everyone going to hear my struggle?
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll just keep talking
Oh
about it.
no.
While you're struggling, I will. I'm gonna read what the definitions of the the boundaries are, just so that everybody else can know
Why?
instead of just me. Because your laptop hates you. So material boundaries determine whether you give or lend things, such as your money, car, clothes, books, food, or toothbrush. So that is your boundary to be able to say no if somebody wants to take something from you. We went through physical boundaries already.
Right.
Mental boundaries apply to your thoughts, values, and opinions. Are you easily suggestible? Do you know what you believe? And can you hold on to your opinions? Can you listen with an open mind to someone else's opinion without becoming rigid? If you become highly emotional, argumentative, or defensive, you may have weak emotional boundaries. I'm going to pause on that one because
Oh,
how
I just
important
learned
it is.
something about myself. Uh-oh.
So we're going to pause on those mental boundaries for a moment. I think this is one that we all struggle with. I mean, we have things that make us feel comfortable, and sometimes rather than it actually being a personal boundary that somebody is breaking by coming up with something to us, it is actually our own discomfort with our mental boundaries. Like, we are not able to separate. We are not able to see their point of view. We are not able to accept their own boundaries, their own opinion, and it causes us pain or stress or anxiety.
Yeah.
And that's
All of the above.
right. And that's one that's one where that boundary has to exist within you. So if something is upsetting you that somebody else has said, which right now is very easy to do because there are a lot of stupid things being said.
Right.
If we don't have the ability to say, I'm going to step away from this, I understand that this is your opinion, but mine is something different. And clearly you're not going to change, even though you're wrong. I'm going to go over here and be okay with that and do what I can to put some good into the world. And so, I try to balance that out for myself. If somebody pisses me off and says something stupid, I try to post something that's inspirational to my friends, something that makes them feel like they're not alone. And that's my way of setting that mental boundary so that I can still feel useful in my own mind for this purpose in the world, whatever that means. Yeah. Let's hear your, go ahead, Jeffrey. I see your brain.
You see it? Oh man, it's glowing. It's like my emotional boundaries are getting rattled right now. They're just seething out of my head. I'm like, I disagree so much. I need to say something right now. I think that with constant exposure to ideas or the ability to kind of like say whatever we want on social media to echo chambers and not really get disagreements or wherever you are on like Reddit or YouTube comments or like, Club Penguin, wherever you are. Like,
is that still a thing?
He's so hip.
Yeah, I thought that was all the rage.
I don't know.
The point I'm trying to make is that, people are kind of losing self-control for involving their emotions with their opinions, because it's so easy for you to go say your opinion and not get someone disagreeing with you in a healthy way. Usually you just see people fighting in comments, or like it's either an argument or it's nothing, is what I'm starting to see more and more, which
Yeah.
kind of that self-control that people used to have, the ability to listen.
What? Well, now they're hiding behind a screen. They think they're safe.
And you're safe, and you kind of get to say whatever you want, and there's no ramifications of what you say. And not like I'm not saying people should be punished for having an opinion. I'm saying that, like, you're allowed to say whatever you want, and it might just be not stupid, but you people should kind of disagree with you, and you should be able to talk about it.
Right. You should be able to have adult conversations.
Discussions.
Yeah.
A discourse. And that it doesn't happen as much.
No, it's all, I can't believe you even thought about saying something that is different than what I just said.
Yeah. And so, I think with the lack of self-control, people get more insecure with how they feel. So they constantly have to kind of parrot and project.
Projecting. We should do a
Right.
projecting shit happened.
I'll write it down.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
boss.
I'm glad to be a part of this.
That's what happens. You commented on our stuff and now you're here.
Whoops.
Oopsie poopsie.
Well, I'm glad to be here, so thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. We've been talking about it for a while. We're like, we need to figure out how to have guests on here.
Yeah, now we know
And then
how. So
the quarantine is
Thanks.
like, yo.
thanks, virus.
Right.
And I'm the inaugural guest.
You are.
But also, could I just throw out there? I'm pretty sure the last time I saw you, you were like 12.
Do I look the same?
I mean, I can't even say you look taller right now because.
He is.
Well, yeah, I would assume so.
Although I don't know, how tall were you? You were almost this height at my wedding, and you weren't 12 then. You were close to 12.
Oh, yeah, that's
though.
true.
Yeah, I mean, I was like 17.
I forgot about that.
16,
You were
17.
17.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Everybody was drunk. It's fine.
That was a great year, learning how to drink in public as a 17-year-old.
I don't know if that was considered public. It brought the public to you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're in public. I think if there's guests, then that's public. You're in public. You can't.
But it was a private event.
If you can't walk around with your pants off, then you're in public.
Who said you couldn't?
There was a dress code.
Was there?
I was part of the wedding. I couldn't just take off my slacks.
That's true. I didn't give you the
Anyways.
slacks. All I gave you was a tie and a vest.
A tie? Was it a bow tie?
No. You get those ugly blue ties that were like $2.
It was powder blue. Thank you. Not ugly.
It's baby blue.
Anyways,
we're good at tangents here.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
I mean, for all our listeners who legally indulge in the marijuana, I'm sure they forget what we're talking about and really enjoy these random shoots.
Are you saying that our podcasts are for people who are just high? I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you do when you listen to podcasts?
I listen while I'm
Listen to
working.
them.
Oh, well. I
Anyway,
disagree.
I'm offended.
Oh, fuck you.
Get off our fucking
Go
show.
full.
I think
internet.
that's actually funny. That you can't even say I'm offended without needing to say anything else. Like, I feel like you should be able to just say I'm offended and have that mean something in itself. Like, it's like, oh, I'm upset. And then you should stop that. Like you said, your I statement, you don't have to back it up always,
But I think it would mean something if it wasn't thrown around so much.
Yeah, we've made I'm offended a more
It's
of
an
a satire.
When I hear someone say they're offended, I just want to roll my eyes now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, fucking course you are.
Yeah.
Everybody's offended by everything.
The new meme name, Karen.
Karen.
Right? Oh,
Don't be a
God, yeah.
Karen.
Karen's always offended. I feel so bad for Karen. Everyone's always talking about how she's complaining so much. I'm just like, maybe someone should have talked to Karen.
Well, maybe if she wasn't a bitch.
And that's it.
Well,
that's your opinion, and I respect that.
Oh,
All right.
Look
Agree
at
to
us.
disagree.
we're growing up,
wow.
guys.
This is how humans should be.
What?
Agree to disagree.
Well, fuck. Yeah, so that was a good pause on mental boundaries. So I'm going to get into the...
Wait,
What?
was that mental? I thought we were
What?
talking about emotional boundaries.
No, that was all mental boundaries, but your
Oh.
emotions were very attached to your mental boundaries, and I respect that.
Well, if anything I said was incorrect, then that's why. It's because that's how
Nothing
we were
is
talking
ever
about.
incorrect here. This is
Oh,
a safe space.
oh,
You're
wow.
allowed to be a fucking dumbass and say things, and we like to be
Unless
real.
unless you try and say triangles have 4 sides, because then I will fight you.
Yeah.
What
yeah,
if you count both sides? Then they have, I guess, never mind. 6 sides, inner and outer.
Still doesn't equal 4.
I know, I realized that after I started talking.
Fine. So emotional boundaries. Distinguish separating your emotions and responsibility for them from someone else's. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Emotional boundaries distinguish separating your emotions and responsibility from them, for them, from someone else's. It's like an imaginary line or force field that separates you and others. Healthy boundaries prevent you from giving advice, blaming, or accepting blame. They protect you from feeling guilty for someone else's negative feelings or problems and taking others' comments personally. High
I'm
react.
real bad at that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think guilty is a key word there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
terrible at that.
Wait, yeah, all day, every day, Lauren, Jeffrey, Danielle.
Well, as soon as like Brian's upset about something, I'm like, well, what the fuck did I do wrong that I could
Right.
fix this?
Right.
Like, even if it had nothing to do with me, I'm like, what
Yep.
could I have done to help alleviate?
Yeah. How could I have prevented this without seeing the future and known that this was going to happen and have stopped it before it even could have the
Yeah.
chance of happening? Yeah.
When it happened while he was at work and I was here,
Right.
how could I have fixed it? How could I have stopped it?
Right. Yeah. I'm
That's
terrible.
healthy.
Terrible
Telepathy.
at that. Yeah.
I gotta work on my telepathy.
Healthy emotional boundaries
What's wrong
require
with you?
clear internal boundaries, knowing your feelings and your responsibilities to yourself and others, which this is where I fail because I don't understand my own emotions because I spent so long trying to fix everybody else's, which, you know, I can look at somebody and be like, something's wrong with this person. Let's work through that with them. And then people are like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel weird.
You're a
But
sponge.
I think that's an okay response. Like, you don't always have to know.
But
There doesn't always have to be an answer. I mean, emotions are complex. Like, it's
Yeah, they
you need time to learn.
That's
Well,
why
they're also complex when you've been a sponge for 50 other people and you've
Yeah.
taken on all of their emotions.
Yeah, and it's like, which one of
So
these
what's
emotions,
wrong? I don't know.
right, which one of these are mine and which one of these are something that I have taken from somebody else and now I'm carrying with me and I don't know how to get rid of. And that's where then I no longer know what I'm feeling because I feel everybody else so much. So I've
That's
learned,
very interesting.
even this morning, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb because people were messaging me before my appropriate time. It wasn't you this time, Lauren, don't worry.
Yay!
Well,
Well, I don't think I was messaging this morning.
No, you weren't. You were quiet. I was
I was,
like,
I was working.
oh,
I was
whoa.
actually working.
No, I turned off my Do Not Disturb and there was like 2 messages from you. And I was like, huh. But I mean, like, even with work, like, they know I start at 7:30 and I'll get messages starting at 6:30 and they're just like nonstop. And I'm like, stop it. And I can't, like, I have a really hard time not feeling guilty about not replying. So I
Yeah.
was just like, I'm going to try something new today. And I put on Do Not Disturb mode and I did my Duolingo and there were no things popping up in my face. And it was just like, oh,
I've done
I
that a
said-
few times.
sent a boundary.
Yes.
Some Francais.
No, I'm actually
No.
learning Norwegian because we are very Norwegian,
Why the
Jeffrey.
fuck not?
I know that.
Yeah. So
I
it's
say-
a
I
really
say
hard
Ufta.
language. It's a very, very hard language. This morning I learned I have several ducks, which is I har flura fugen. I har flura flugen. And I was like,
So,
it's a Swedish chef, basically. Like, he's probably saying real things. I har flura fugen. Jesus. Anyway.
like that phrase came from like an actual like a TV personality. Is that what you meant with Swedish Chef?
I'm sorry, Jeffrey. Do you not know who the Swedish chef is?
It might be too little.
Okay. Well, first of all,
Too
we're gonna have
little.
to- that's 7
Lauren meant
years.
young. Okay, not little.
You're small. Yeah.
You're
So
baby.
the Swedish chef, I will send you clips because Lauren, hashtag Swedish chef.
Swedish chef.
Clearly. So yeah, he's a character that I'm very upset by you right now. Anyway, but so when
Hey,
he talks,
That's that's personal boundaries, okay?
good job.
Do you know what he's from?
I'm just gonna guess Sesame Street. I don't know.
Kind of. I mean, he is puppety.
He's a puppet. So okay,
He's just with different characters than
I mean, I
Sesame
didn't.
Street.
I was told. So it's like this is a funny thing. I don't even remember. It's like I was brainwashed to have this memory. I was told I didn't like the Sesame Street growing up.
That's fine. Sesame Street's bad for you anyway.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, mixing
What?
people and puppets like that. It's blasphemy.
No, the short-term attention span nature of the clips.
Yeah. I just absorbed it all. So then I just learned lots of things, and now that's what's wrong with me.
I didn't like it because of that. Because it would be like, do this and this and this, and I was like, well, I just started the other thing. Like, I was a
Oh.
weird kid.
Like I need time to practice.
Was?
See now we have TiVo and you can pause it.
Like when I was a kid, I would just
You can
watch
count
Fantasia
to 6.
on repeat.
You'd watch what?
Fantasia.
Yeah, that's
on
good
repeat.
shit, though.
Yeah, but when you're like 6,
What's
So-
what's your favorite song from Fantasia?
Ooh.
I really like the dinosaur one.
Hey,
I
do you
remember
know
that.
do you know the composer?
No,
Oh, that's the most important part of the whole movie.
I
Okay,
didn't
tell
come
us,
prepared for
Jeffrey.
that.
Tell
I don't
us.
know. I mean, I don't know.
Name a song from Fantasia.
What is it? It's Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue, I think, or something like that.
All right.
It's the
All
first
right.
song, like the New York song.
Yeah. Where they're
It's
drawing the.
the crazy
like
jazz
that?
song that starts the movie. Yeah,
This
that
is
was
me.
it exactly, just like that. But the song, the song's supposed to represent. It's a sonic version of the chaos of the city.
Yeah.
Right.
And it represents drawing the city. If you haven't seen Fantasia, listeners, please.
Yeah, we're selling it
fucking
great,
watch it.
right? There's
We're also
dinosaurs
selling-
and drawing.
Let's just get. I can't with the not. Okay, so the Swedish Chef is from the Muppets, Jeffrey.
Muppets.
Do you know the Muppets?
I think I know the Muppets.
Alrighty. I'm sure Kermit the Frog,
Yeah.
Miss Piggy. Okay, that's the
The old men in the balcony.
the cranky old men. What?
They were my favorite.
Weren't they part of Sesame Street? The Muppets?
I don't know. They
Well-
might have blended it at some point, but
I mean, they might have had a crossover, but
Oh boy.
But yeah,
I
so
don't
So-
think so.
So the
I don't
frog
know.
was married to the pig.
yeah, Miss Piggy.
I'm
What
just
do you have
saying-
against interspecies?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying Kermit must have been. I mean, all I'm saying
What
is
was
Miss
he?
Piggy.
What
Miss
was he?
Piggy is a. She's a talented woman.
She knows what she wants.
She's got a whole lot of character, and Kermit is a frog. So I'm just saying he probably also has some things going for him if he's with Miss Piggy.
He's got that hippity hop.
It's got banjo skills,
He
That's
does.
true. He does.
but Miss Piggy knows how to set boundaries.
She fucking does.
Oh,
that's why people didn't like her.
Hey,
Be like Miss
segue.
Piggy.
Ha!
We did it, guys. Ooh, circle around.
Back on track. People
So
who set
fan-
hard and
so-
fast boundaries ended up getting shit on because people don't like that.
Yeah, well, because I mean, especially as a female, if you set hard boundaries, all of a sudden you're a bitch. Or
You
you're
are
a
a bitch.
prude.
Ooh,
Or
yeah, and that is a great thing to say because I think that goes along with what women wear.
Mhm.
And if a woman wears, or I should rather say, a female-bodied person wears,
So Eugene,
a skirt, I think it's an appropriate way to speak.
it
You know,
is.
it's
I like
inclusive
it.
language. We
That's
use
cute.
inclusive language.
All those kvinnas.
It's what?
That's women in Norwegian.
Oh,
She was
All
in
right.
Swedish Chef again.
let me get my notepad out. Yeah, it's my Swedish chef.
I'm sorry,
dialect.
continue. You are making a very valid point.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's luckily it's something that's become more commonplace to our society, or at least the sect of society that I choose to indulge or consume. The attire that anyone chooses to wear. I guess it shouldn't matter if you're a female-bodied or male-bodied person or otherwise. Something that makes someone feel sexual when you look at them. That's okay. That's not bad. But then acting on it and then projecting that on the person, here's more
Yeah.
projection of how you feel onto other people. I think you gotta remember, like, people wear things to be comfortable. People want to be attractive, of course. If you dress up in an attractive way, you probably would enjoy to be looked at, but not to be catcalled or to be touched or to be approached. And that doesn't, maybe not everybody feels that way, but certainly that's a boundary. Clothing is not an invitation to anyone else. It's just for you to express yourself, and that is for anyone. Like, if I wear my pajamas at the store, it doesn't mean you judge me. I'm just comfortable.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it's okay right now, clearly.
Yeah. Well, not going to the store. Don't go to the store. Stay at home, but don't order at Amazon.
But
But stay at home.
But that's why I just did it all yesterday. So.
Yeah.
Honestly,
No, I like that.
A good old physical boundary there.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole idea of our personal boundaries, the people crossing the line by trying to project their own boundaries onto us. And that's where things start to get uncomfortable. That's where you get into these situations where it has now become extreme, and now I am no longer safe or comfortable. So it's trying to find this, how do I have my own personal boundaries and respect yours without feeling that I need to project my own personal boundaries onto you? I think that is where most of the world struggles, is I have these personal boundaries, they work for me, now they have to work for you. Which nobody's personal boundaries are going to be the same. We can discuss them and see what is similar, but even if we have the same personal boundaries, maybe one day I need more personal space than you feel like you need. So now all of a sudden you are projecting your personal boundary on me, and now I can no longer feel comfortable. And now I've lost that sense of myself because of that. And I think a lot of it just goes back around to, how do we communicate that in a way where it's effective and it doesn't come back with being defensive? And even if it starts off being defensive, how do we calmly continue the conversation to bring it to a place where it's now comfortable and we can discuss it and be adults? And maybe you yell, and that's okay. There's not going to be every day where we are one solid emotion and everything is just balanced and perfect. And, there are things that we cannot control always, all the time. And that's going to eat at us. And, there are days at work when I'll be sitting there and there won't be anything for hours. And then all of a sudden, 6 people want to talk to me all at once. And I'm like, what in the actual shit? Like, I've just been sitting here doing my work, and now I want to go like have lunch. And everybody's like, I need this right now. You have 20 minutes to do it. And I'm just like, fucking shit. Like, and that's something that I have to take on in that moment, because when, they're paying me, but, also knowing that it would make me feel guilty later on if I didn't do it right now. So it's like finding that I have to do this right now so I feel better later on. But maybe that means that I have to neglect something else that I might not be usually neglecting right now. And that's kind of setting my own personal boundary of understanding that my guilt will override my ability to enjoy my life later on. So if I cannot take care of this certain thing right now, it's going to affect me later, because I don't have the capacity or the energy to be able to not feel like it's my fault that something didn't happen.
So in essence, that's a decision you're making to ignore your own needs in a moment so as to protect your needs in the future.
Yeah. And that's
self-preservation.
right. And that's a personal boundary I have to set because there are things that are out of my control. And there's always going to be things out of my control. Like we have to take care of our adult children or our pets.
Yeah.
Or our actual children-sized children. And, you know, there are things that they're incapable of doing for themselves. So it's like, where do I stop helping you and let you help yourself? And where do I assist you and help you grow in this? How do I teach you these personal boundaries and
it's been
how to
so
not manipulate
hard.
people?
It's been, because that's one of the things that I deal with now every day is because when I'm at my desk working and I know that she's just sitting out there by herself alone. She's lonely because she's a hypersocial person and she can't function on her own. So I just sit in here all day and feel like shit because I know she's feeling miserable and I feel like it's my fault, even though it's not. I have to work. She normally would be at school and it would be fine. Like, this isn't an intentional thing we did to her to just pull her out of school and be like, all right,
hey, come hang out at home.
Now. Yeah, talk to the wall. Pretend your reflection is your sister.
No.
Yeah, she's in a good headspace. That started the other day. This is my sister. We're going to play. And I was like, oh, that's healthy.
You're like psychologytoday.com.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is really fucking hard. And nobody is perfect and nobody has perfect boundaries and nobody can have perfect boundaries because the world is a fucking mess and humans are not perfect in any fashion.
Yeah.
And so the best we can do is just try and vocalize, communicate what the boundaries are, what we need, how we can work around them and accommodate them.
Right.
With the people that are important.
So you're saying that we have to treat everyone like an individual and we can't just pretend that everyone's the same?
Motherfuck.
Blasphemy. I think that's a really good point, though, is, you know, one thing that people forget all the time is how different we actually are, you know? And I think that contributes to a lot of disparities in society is kind of this, you know, kind of a fallacy I see a lot is even right now, it's like, oh, we're all in this together. We're all alone together. That's true, kind of. I mean, everybody feels it their own way, though. You know, everybody's experiencing this a different way. Like some people might really need attention from an individual, and some other people might really just need to take some space from someone they've been spending a lot of time with. And, you know, it's like everybody's feeling their own unique way about this. But of course, you know, I think in a marketing capitalist society we want to make it a model to paint over everyone to make it easy to think about, you know, instead of being like, oh, it is complex. So we are all different and individuals, you know, it's like, you know, everybody has different backgrounds, different cultures and ethnicities and you know, socioeconomic statuses and friend groups and all these things come together. And, you know, it's important to remember that we're all different, even though we would like to all be treated equal. You have to remember that even though there needs to be equality for everyone, there's still, like you said, you need to treat everyone like an individual and remember that everybody's complex and has their own base needs, has their own base identity. And, you know, it's not easy. It's hard work to remember that everybody's an individual and to give energy to all of those ideas.
I hit my desk. It's fine. The dog squeaked.
I know. Stop.
Yeah, you make very valid points.
Some people's hit their desks, some people's dog squeaks.
You know, we're just giving you some distractions. It's fine.
We're doing the best we can.
I'm running on my tangent and they're like doing anything they can. I'm like, make them stop.
No, the thing is, like, I want to say things with you. Like, you're making lots of good points.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, you know, it's easy to get in, or, I mean, I've never done this before. It's easy to run on my tangent and kind of say what I'm feeling. I feel like I apologize. I feel like Lauren has been letting us yell at each other.
You know, I do that a lot. I just like, I'm going to yell, Lauren. And she's like, okay, I'm here to support you.
Well, I encourage you to speak if you would like, but not if it's outside of your comfort
Well, you
zone.
know what?
Of
I'm
course.
gonna fucking speak because
You goddamn speak.
my
Then.
brain will forget it if I don't. A lot. So the things that you're saying about how our experiences have molded us into these different people, and we each experiencing things differently, and all this stuff. There is so much truth into that. But at the same time, if we go into our actual bodies, not the brain, which tells us, you're actively thinking, these are the things that I'm feeling, but your body, which actually just experiences it, most of our bodies are going to feel the same experiences, even though the experiences that we physically had or we had mentally are completely different. So any trauma that we go through, and I know I bring this up a lot to you guys individually, but traumas that we have, no matter the trauma that we went through, whether you were in war or somebody abused you or you went through a loss, your body just recognizes it as trauma. It doesn't know that your experience to get to that trauma was different than this other person's. It's just recognizes it as something that caused you trauma to your body. And a lot of people hold that within their muscles. So like if you go and get super deep tissue massage, oftentimes it's going to release emotions from a very specific part of your life. I tend to hold my stress in my hips. So when I start to massage them out, I can have the tendency to get emotional. You start releasing, you're flowing these things back through your body. My body doesn't really recognize that it came from these specific moments. It just knows that it's there. Mm-hmm. And that's how we can connect, even though we have all of these unique experiences, is how do we experience things within our body and how do we discuss that with people? So what are the emotions that come from my body from a trauma? You don't need to know the specific trauma, but what is my body telling me now? Why am I reacting this way to a certain situation? If there's lots of sounds happening, I get tense. What is causing that? Where am I holding that tension in my body? Those types of things, like, what is it? So for
see
Lauren
shifting in the chair. She's like, where is it?
God,
it's right
where
there.
are you feeling it? So for Lauren, this constant sound, this misophonia, causing trauma within her body. For me, it could be the high energy person just in my space for too long. That's my trauma in my body. For Jeffrey, what do you feel? What do you feel your trauma is in your body? What causes you to hold that tension?
You mean like the way where how I internalize it, or where I feel it kind of
you can go with both.
centralizing?
Yeah.
Yes.
All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good question. I mean, I'm an escapist with my emotions, so I love to ignore them and fly away as far as I can. And, whether that's, just being honest, whether if it's drinking or smoking or hanging out with as many people I can, or going on bike rides and just constantly being stimulated, I kind of and I guess, that's one of the things that's important about this time, is kind of all having so much time to just settle in your space. You kind of have to look at your body and feel your body. And, I definitely feel it a lot in my neck and my shoulders. I think that's really common. Slouching and, tension just kind of falls right into those spots. Definitely in my scalp. Like when I'm tired and stressed, my neck and my scalp are just on fire until I can get some rest.
So you've basically just told yourself a way to discuss your traumas with other people. So by talking about tension in your shoulders, by bringing it into the body, something that we can physicalize, something that we can understand, you can have conversations with people that will maybe open up the emotional conversation that allows those boundaries to feel more comfortable, because you've given them something they can tangibly understand. So if you give that tangibility to people, something they can grasp onto, something that's more logical, it allows the doors to open for the emotional part.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you have to
Otherwise,
communicate with your own self, you know,
Yeah.
on a base level before you can come out and talk to other people.
Well, I mean, how can you be truly genuine if you don't know how to experience it yourself?
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, that's something it's what we can't do. It's a lot of people don't have time for that,
Right.
which is
Well, they
absurd.
do
It's like,
now.
Right.
yeah,
Quarantine
I
said,
goddamn
"Look,
do
bitch."
now, and I hate
Figure
it.
your shit out.
Figure out your shit. But I mean, even, you know, covering up your wanting to not feel with substance, or, you know, constantly moving, or whatever it is that you do, that's also okay, because you might not be in a place where you can actually deal with it. And sometimes you need to go until you find a point in your life where there is someone who you feel like can support you without making you feel like shit.
Right, and that's even hard to learn. You know, it's like you get so distracted all the time. It's like someone could be draining all your energy constantly, and you don't even realize it until you have time away from them. But some people you don't have time away from.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the 6-year-old here.
No.
No, not at all. But like, even so, then it's like, what a lot of these things that are stressing us out are things that we can't control, which is why, like, I know me and Lauren do this, where we listen to music to drown out all the things that we can't control, because with music, it's the one thing in our head. It's not
I'm actually
unexpected
just listening
noises.
to music right now. I'm not even listening to you guys.
You don't know what you're saying.
I've just been slowly turning up Spotify and turning down Zoom.
Like,
this whole
shut
time.
these people up. But yeah, so like when I put headphones on, I can control the sound. I can control the volume. I know that it's going to be a constant stream. It's not going to surprise me with a big I need you, a big blast of energy in my face, unless I'm on random and my list goes to screaming metal. But you know, I have control over
Screaming
that.
metal. Yeah.
Well, there's screaming metal, and then there's like
And
enjoy
what?
that.
What? So is this like
Bring those
tungsten and then iron? Is that what we're talking about?
What's the lady band, Lauren?
Oh. Shit.
Yeah, this is called Oh Shit.
I made a bad joke. Nobody laughed.
You know, I'm gonna ignore your chemistry jokes here, because
I don't
you're
remember.
serious people in your tungsten.
Fun fact, if anyone would like to know, here's my fun fact. In the later parts of the episode,
I want to know your fun fact.
Yeah.
the chemical symbol for tungsten is W. Also, tungsten is the filament in all of your incandescent light bulbs, incandescent light bulbs at home.
Like my light bulbs.
It's got
I
that.
have-
It's got that soft, warm,
I have LED
kind of orange
lights.
light. Yeah. See, so LEDs, your light emitting diodes, are not
But
tungsten.
why is tungsten W? What's the Latin term for it? That
I think
W
it's
came from?
wolfram
There we
is what the Latin word is for it, and usually, I mean, a lot of elements are named after the person who discovered them. I don't remember what wolfram is exactly, or tungsten at least. It's just one of those unique ones that has the Latin name, like iron is Fe, which stands for ferrous or ferrum, depending on the state. Right. Here's another fun fact, if I may deliberate. This is my favorite one. This is my favorite one.
Okay.
This is really exciting, and people are gonna be sitting at the edge of their seats
They're
and then
gonna
jump
shit
off
their pants.
and just throw their arms in the air in excitement when they hear
Okay,
this. I
I'm
know
ready.
it. So back in the day in Rome, they made all of their irrigation with lead pipes, right? And
They tried.
so that they tried, and there's
didn't know.
actually
It's okay.
there are there's tales about people going mad in the bathhouses because of the lead in the water.
Oh, that poisoning.
Right. I'm like, I wonder why Rome fell.
Right.
You got all the aristocrats sitting in poison and toxic radioactive water. And we're like, what happened to them? That's so weird. Anyways, the Latin word for lead is plumbum or plumbus, and that is why we now have the term plumber as a person who works on the irrigation in your home, because
like
of
it.
lead pipes in Rome, and the Latin word for lead is plumbum. PB
I like
on the
it.
elemental
That was
table.
the best lesson that we could have had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is my degree coming out, and I'm just like, you know
Well,
what? If I'm not going to get a job in my field, I'm just going to come on podcasts and just say stupid things.
Talk about the periodic table.
You know, now
Yeah.
you'll have to share the podcast, make sure that people know, and that can be part of your interview. And be like, look at this shit that I know. I know
There's
it.
no personal boundaries when it comes to the elemental table. It's everywhere. It's a part of your body.
How do those electrons feel?
Well, the uncertainty aspect of electrons means that we don't really know, to
And
say
what
the
else?
least.
What else about them?
I think I'm going to go ahead and kind of relinquish this train here. I'm sorry.
Why?
I don't have
great.
anything to contribute because I never took science.
Oh, yeah, I don't know why I even chose the degree I did sometimes. It just sounded fun. I was a kid. Now I have a bunch of debt.
Out.
Hey, pro tip for young listeners who might want to go to college, don't.
Young listeners we have. Don't. Just go to trade school.
Go to trade school.
Fine.
Be a plumber.
Go get certified to be a plumber.
But now you know why it's called that.
But now you know why, and now you know what all that mean, all that background.
Now you are
all the way back to Rome. You're going to be representing those Roman plumbers who built the bathhouses. It's a noble job. Wow. So before we talked about that, oh man, where were we? This is where like if this podcast had like ads, you would be like, we're gonna take a break, and then we would rewind and be like, what the hell? Where were we?
We pretended we were gonna start like by editing things out, and then we did the first one, and I was like, fuck that shit, we're hilarious.
Just go.
Like, I like our random tangents because not only are they informative, but they spring from other things, like what the hell made us think of that, and it's all these other things that they listen to, and now they've joined us on our crazy brain journey. Welcome.
They're inside of our personal boundaries.
There, we brought them in with us. We
deep inside of our own personal boundaries.
We gave them permission to join us inside of our bubble.
Right. So, speaking of that, then what have we gone over thus far as boundaries go?
We did material, physical, mental, emotional, sexual. The only one left is...
Did we do sexual?
Yeah, you talked about that.
Well, I think I kind of brushed it. I think that's more of a physical,
That is a sexual...
Yeah, because, you don't want someone to imply sexuality. Right. Yeah, they are all intertwined, and I think that's kind of a challenging thing about kind of having sectors to all these boundaries and understanding, the importance of each one also.
That's true. But yeah, the only thing that the sexual boundaries that we didn't really like dive in on is, even if I set my own sexual boundaries of saying no, then some asshole is still going to be like, I'm projecting onto you my inability to listen to you saying no.
Yeah, but I think it's more than saying no, yes or no. It's not black and white. There's like...
No, it's definitely not.
Everything's
gray.
Like you said, like we are all three very good at is trying to put others before us, right? And trying to please someone else. Maybe not in a sexual context, but that is important to remember that, everybody has needs, and for sexual boundaries, or for any boundary, I think, the most important thing is communication and starting at a very basic level with people and learning what they need and listening to what they need. And at the same time, you are a person and you need to remember what you need, and you need to help express that to people so they can have a better interaction with you and you can have a better interaction with them. So I think that at the very least, if you are intimate with someone, and I think this can happen with relationships that are old or new, and especially with old ones, like you get in habits kind of, you wear out a rut, and you have behaviors that you just kind of repeat over and over and again. And I think it's good to always ask how people are feeling, when you're interacting with them, then on an intimate level, and make sure that everybody is enjoying what's going on.
Still kosher?
Yeah, it's still
Same
kosher.
page.
It
On the
might
same
even be
page.
boring. Like, you never know. Like, somebody might
Sometimes
want
you
to
need
try
that, man.
something and you don't know. And you don't know if you don't ask.
It's true.
Or you don't know, or they don't know if you don't tell them. And that's,
Yeah.
So communication and boundaries.
I mean,
good.
that's really the main thing with all of
Yeah.
them. The only one we haven't talked about is spiritual boundaries. Boundaries, which they relate to your beliefs and experiences in connection with God or a higher power. So the people who are very Bible pushing don't respect your spiritual boundaries at all.
Nope.
So just tell them no. I'm just going to end with that because fuck that.
Conversely, I think that people who choose to not have an excessive amount of spirituality might shun people who have any amount, which is pretty ignorant to do. I mean, I did that a lot, kind of exploring my own spiritual beliefs, as a teenager, which I think is normal. You get irrational, lash out, and you argue with people, and you denounce anything else that someone says. And, I think
that's just
whether you're trying to expose someone to a new idea or shut someone up so they don't tell you something, there's got to be a median for respect both ways.
Yeah.
Because again, we're all different and we all have different perspectives.
Yeah. And, it's one of the things that we learn just growing up, just when we are growing up, we are being given everybody else's opinions, everybody else's boundaries. We're learning from theirs. And not often are we taught, create your own boundaries.
Figure out what feels good for you.
Yeah. And it's because the people we're learning from aren't necessarily comfortable with their own boundaries, or they don't know what those are. So they can't pass on that lesson to us to be able to create our own.
Yeah.
And that's why it's good to get out in the world sometimes and meet other people, because you will find somebody who has maybe already gone through this, and then now they can teach you what you need to know. And, the universe has this way of shoving lessons in your face if you are ignoring them, where it's like, hey, bitch, you have been ignoring me for 10 years. So now I'm going to just put this right here, and now it's yours and you will listen to it. And, sometimes that's what it takes, especially with all of the other noise and chaos in our lives constantly. And that's okay. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Someday.
I think Lauren also said in the midst of that is, figuring out your own boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
What an important thing, because it does take time, and you can be wrong about what your boundaries are one day.
And your boundaries can change.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. It's nothing is static, or not nothing, but people are allowed to change, I think.
Right. Yeah.
For me in any sort of relationship, I felt bad if I felt one way on Tuesday, and then on Thursday I realized I didn't really want that.
Yeah.
Maybe that didn't work out as great as I thought it was going to, and I'm not sure I can do it again. And you kind of have to maybe take something from someone, or not, maybe like not really taking it, but you're kind of pulling back and bringing yourself, rekindling yourself to try to figure it out again.
Yeah.
Giving yourself space
you're
to learn.
redefining what you need. So it's not necessarily that it's wrong or that you were wrong in your choice. We don't usually know what we actually need until we have experienced it. Our minds, our imaginations have these lovely ways of making all these grandeur things go on. And, our imaginations are awesome, and they can create these false feelings, and we connect them to things that we think they belong to. But then when we actually experience it, most of the time it's not actually there. So, you have to redo the process of what you thought it would be in your mind, because now there's probably another person involved, and you cannot guess what their experience is going to be mixed with yours. And that's okay.
So,
together, communicate and
fucking talk to each other, basically.
Fucking talk.
Yeah.
And talk to yourself.
It's hard.
Talk to yourself. Man,
Talk-
yeah. I mean, I think if, the focus of this episode was to remember boundaries in quarantine. If we're not around other people, don't hide from yourself. Talk to yourself.
Talk
Listen.
to yourself.
Listen
like
to
it.
yourself.
Figure out what's working.
Your body's
for you and
saying
what's
all
not.
kinds of stuff all the time. I mean,
All
like,
kinds of things.
the tension that manifests in your hips or your scalp or your chest, like,
Oh,
I get anxious and chew my fingers, I don't like biting my fingers off, chew my fingernails. So I have this oral fixation to kind of to stimulate my body in a way that kind of like, I'm like plowing through a bunch of thoughts, and then I'm just like ripping through my fingernails. And what I should be doing is I should just take a deep breath and like be with those thoughts and not like try to comfort myself. Because sometimes comforting yourself is not the healthiest way to explore a boundary. I mean, you kind of have to be outside of your boundaries to learn more about them, have that different perspective.
Well, is it comforting or is it distracting and avoiding?
Well, that's what I mean. I think comfort is distracting sometimes. You're kind of settling in a moment to feel that serotonin that you're not getting from realizing that your body's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
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 Man.
Uh-oh.
I think that was good. I like it. It's a nice, strong finish.
Are we getting close? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of just go until it feels like that
said
was
all the
good.
things.
And, that felt good. I liked that. That was a nice, strong finish. And
I like it.
I mean, our main takeaway from this is communicate what you need, not only with others, but with yourself. And
Introspection.
give yourself a time to be okay with setting your own boundaries and changing them when you need to.
And if somebody doesn't want to respect your boundaries, tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Fuck
That's hard to do too, man.
Yeah.
It is.
Because people feel good sometimes. You don't want to tell them to leave, but
Yeah, but
wrong.
sometimes you need
You're
to
the
tell
most
them to
important
fuck off.
one.
Yeah. I tell Paul to fuck off sometimes just because I need to not hate him later. Or myself.
Ooh.
I
hate.
can feel there's I don't ever hate him really. But
No.
like you have to tell
Let
people
the hate throw through you.
Oh no. No Star Wars. But yeah, I mean there are those moments when you have to I'm going to respond I'm reactionary to something. So you go away so that I can focus on me so that I can be there for you. And sometimes the words that are coherent and actually communicative don't come out. They come out as go the fuck away or
Or just crying.
Yeah, shit happens. But it's more of
it happens.
How do I need to heal myself so that I can heal you or help support heal you.
Yes.
And the communication in that is how can I guide somebody else to help support me in that time, which is that's probably where I fail the most is accepting help from others.
Right. Especially when you're different,
Yeah.
People have different expectations and different boundaries, and it doesn't mean we can't coexist. It just means that we have to learn each other's. Sorry.
Try harder.
Try harder. Well, yeah, learn each other's formulas. You gotta try to understand each other. You shouldn't. I mean, somebody might disrespect your boundary, and of course, that might seem like a good reason to kind of push them away. But I think also there may be an aspect to that where you can spend a little more energy to try to understand each other if it really means that much to you. If you have the, if you have the space and the energy to give that to that person.
Yes, it is okay to sacrifice parts of you to help support other people as long as you have the capacity to do so. If it's going to make it to where me supporting you right now makes it so that I can't support you for the next 6 months because now I've completely depleted all of who I am, it's probably not the best choice. And maybe there is another friend that you can guide to that person that might be able to help them or help support you in helping them so that you're not depleting all of who you are.
Yep.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
I think we did that. We fucking nailed that shit, guys.
We nailed it.
All
Good
right.
work, team.
We
That
set those
shit happened.
boundaries
We did.
hard.
Look at all our boundaries. See them all? They're just...
Yeah, they're very square on the screen.
All right, bitches. Thank you for listening to our first guest appearance.
Yay!
It's my baby brother. His name is Jeffrey Alexander.
Wow.
Let you Musalria. No, that's just how they announced his name at his graduation from high school.
Oh,
They tried.
you got butchered too?
Musalria.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't even remember who the principal was at that time. Mr. Blake, I think, was the principal.
Oh, yeah, Musalria. But I don't think
Yeah.
he read it. I think somebody else did because they were like trading off.
They butchered my name too.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I became Lauren Michael.
Her middle name is Michelle.
I became Michael.
Congratulations on the new name.
So I graduated and had a gender change.
And had a new identity all of a sudden. You're like, wow, this, the adult life is really weird.
Oh man. All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey.
Thanks for joining
Thank you.
us.
Thanks for having me.
Goodbye.